Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Modern Warfare 2 season starts far earlier than usual, and Scump said that's going to have a significant implication on what the streaming scrims schedule might look like for the upcoming season, but also competitive integrity. Scump is not so happy the way the CDL handles this type of stuff, especially replays when things go wrong with the game. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Thanks for 86,000 subscribers as well. Love to see it. Let's keep on going towards the bigger number up ahead. Firstly, big thing to mention on the Royal Ravens quickly, because yes, KOI Esports, Koi Esports, founded by these Spanish streamers, aBeZy, kind of biggest among them. They've joined forces with Rokkr, and now it seems like they effectively own the Ravens. It's maybe not clear because Ravens ownership is very kind of muddy because they've got Wrecked Global over there as well. But our understanding is that aBeZy and Co now kind of have ownership and control of the Royal Ravens franchise. At least that is a currently ongoing process. Therefore, you would well imagine in the future they might want to move the franchise to Madrid or to Spain in general. And, well, seemingly that hasn't been approved by the CDL as yet, but it may be down the line. So that could leave the London spot open for another team to come through. And I thought it was interesting that Jacob Ale pointed out this, that F1 driver Lando Norris said last year that he wants Quadrant, that's his esports organisation, to one day have a COD League team. So could this be an opening opportunity for him if the management of Quadrant actually thinks this is a good idea to spend that amount of money on a CDL spot? But I mean, yeah, look, if the London spot was to be opened up, could Quadrant come through? They have a Halo team, of course. That'd be rather cool. Now, look, I don't know how likely this is to happen because it's not like you can just buy one spot and have 13 teams in the league. This would have to be aligned with expansion elsewhere to get up to, at least 14, if not probably 16 would be the way to go if they do get interest for it. And, with the state of the world economy right now, who knows if there's actually going to be interest for that regardless. But one to keep your eyes on for sure, and especially because Lando was actually involved in this absolutely, awful trailer. Honestly, I hope you guys didn't listen to this. Watching it's bad enough. Listening to it's even worse. But in fairness, Lando, I guess he got paid a fair bit of money to be in this trailer for the new game. And, I mean, yeah, at least shows that he's still interested and involved in some degree from a Call of Duty perspective. And, yeah, maybe this is part of the reason why he might be getting a spot in the CDL at some point. That'd be pretty cool. I just don't think it's overwhelmingly likely as it presently stands. Let's talk coaching staff. So Toronto have confirmed that Flux is coming back as their strategic coach for the upcoming season. He's been part of their team for at least the last season, if not the season before, kind of like an OG player now become a coach. Now, the question really is, what's the coaching staff looking like for the rest of the league? Because Cinder's gone to New York. We know that Riven, from being the coach of that team, has gone to become the general manager at Surge. Still guys like JP Krez, from an analyst perspective, they're out there looking for offers. I believe Bevels and Parasite said they're going to grind through challenges, but there's still some teams that don't really have coaching staffs, right? I mean, even Toronto, Mayhem has been kind of in discussion as their potential, former substitutes, maybe becoming their full-time coach, who knows? But yeah, there's plenty of teams out there that don't really have a clear direction from their coaching staff, and honestly, I think that makes a pretty big difference, because a team like Toronto, they've got some questions to answer. How is Scrappy going to work with the rest of the team? How's the chemistry going to be with, Standy and Scrappy, Insight and CleanX? Not clear that team's going to get on perfectly well from kind of a cultural perspective, so they need some good coaching staff, I think, to make that happen. And Marky B's left to go to Los Angeles Guerrillas, so that's where the questions to me come in. And yeah, Toronto and others are going to have to answer similar questions going forwards. This also a big update. So the Raleigh Convention Center, it's been noticed on their website, December 15th through to the 18th. That's when Call of Duty League Major 1 is going to be held. So I believe from people who live locally, they were saying there's kind of two venues that might be good, but this was certainly the better of the two. So, well, hopefully that's the case at the very least. It held at this last year's HGS kickoff. So pretty cool venue. Looking forward to seeing everything in action there. And of course, this year starts rather early. This is a pro-am event as well. 12 pro teams from the CDL, 4, I'm guessing, amateur teams that might be determined in the couple of weeks prior to this. And hopefully there's some big names on those amateur teams as well, because after this event, Major 1, there's a lot of money on the line. The season then really kicked into way, I suppose, in January, when everything's happening all the time, January through pretty much June. Hopefully a little bit longer, but we'll see about that. But, there's going to be a lot going on. And if things go badly at Major 1 for certain teams, it's not out of the question that moves could be made even going into the new year. So that's the update on that front. But yeah, things start rather early this season, and that's certainly Scump was talking about it as well, what that means for streaming and even scrims in general, and how long the kind of kickoff phase of the season is actually going to last. Far shorter than usual, but to be honest, that's a pretty good thing. Now, just wanted to mention this quickly. So tomorrow, the off-season kind of tournament thing that Hitch has got going on is getting underway, I guess the TST boys in general. But yeah, so it's not just Black Ops 2, there's a Melee thing going on, a Pokemon thing, other other stuff happening also. But yeah, Team Scump versus Team Killer, Black Ops 2 show match, or like, well, not exactly show match really. This is the first rounds in, I guess, the quarterfinals or the semi-finals really. And then the other match is going to be going on, I believe, off stream, and that's like abeZy's team and co. And then the winners finals is played that evening, and then the losers finals and grand finals are played the next day to finish out the tournament. So that's really cool stuff. And even abeZy, I think, says here, so damn, so I'm already in winners finals. This is what I like to see. But yeah, his match is going to be played off stream. Well, not necessarily off stream, but it's going to be on twitch.tv/Scump apparently. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. His team versus Damon's team is going to be the first couple of round matches. So pretty exciting stuff, but that is the way it is turning out. So last night there was an OpTic podcast that aired, and Scump and Fulmer were having some talks on not just bringing back the Dynasty for Advanced Warfare 2 and teaming up yet again as we saw a few days ago, but also on various other topics. Firstly, wanted to share the clip here on the kind of, well, competitive integrity side. We've seen the last couple of seasons, when there is questionable things happen within the game, weird spawns, etc., etc., the CDL don't really seem to care that much. Whatever the final result is, that is kind of what happens. And to be fair, it's been a thing for quite some time. You guys remember, I'm sure, like London 2019, when it was LG versus FaZe, and there was that drama in Black Ops 4 where the control point was captured, but then the kill came through for Slacked or whatever it was, and it was FaZe that probably should have got the win, but the game was broken and gave LG the win, and the CWL at the time stood by that decision and gave LG the win, much to the annoyance of the home crowd that were supporting some of the British guys over on FaZe. So this has been a thing in COD for quite some time, where competitive integrity isn't necessarily like held in the highest esteem, and Scump is pretty much just straight up calling out the CDL here and saying, look, they don't seem to care too much about this stuff, but also some words on the potential of streaming scrims at the start of the game.
XSET and FPS.
So they're like top teams.
Yeah, top teams. And XSET was the team that their bot malfunctioned. And so they had to bring everybody back in order to move on in in their champions or champions worlds, whatever.
I respect that they brought them back and replayed it though.
You do?
You think COD's doing that?
Oh.
I'll be like, off, sorry buddy. Better luck
I mean,
next
that
year.
is true.
The bomb blew up. Peace.
That's just your champs.
But so many people are like, if that happens in round 1, do they replay it? Or is it just because it was like in that certain circumstance?
Yeah, something like that. So I was going to bring so many questions though.
Yeah.
Like what ifs?
I don't know. There was a big split.
Butterfly effect.
Because like, is it the right thing to do? Butterfly effect.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Was it the right thing to do?
Yeah, definitely. I guess.
I mean, competitive integrity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I guess. I don't.
I wasn't watching that match. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I didn't watch either, but competitive integrity. If the game actually broke, then yeah. I mean, that's
what happened.
These players practice all week for the game to break and for their hopes and dreams to be crushed. Yeah, they need to replay it. Our first event's in December, early December.
Like what? Really? Like
it's
first 2 weeks?
It's like mid-December. Yeah.
Damn.
And then we have Christmas, and then we have like I don't know what's been released, but yeah.
So
I'm taking my off season because a week into the game, I'm gonna be scrimming.
Yeah, you've been
probably like 3 days into the game, you're gonna be scrimming.
Yeah, a week into the game, we're gonna start scrims.
There's always those teams that scrim day 1, and it kind of forces everyone else to start scrimming, and you're like, God damn it, they're getting ahead. So you're like,
that's
so 6.
In the past couple years, we haven't started scrims for like a month, and a half.
I was gonna say you gotta like play just play the game first.
Y'all are gonna play kickoff tournaments and then start scrimming the next day. That's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Pretty much.
Will you let scrims be streamed monitored? Probably for like a week or 2, and that's about it. Maybe even that. I mean, we started the season like we stopped streaming in like after at Christmas, and it was a month before the season started. And the season starts basically a month after ship, so I don't know.
So this is the moment that Hitch was referring to there. This is in the Valorant World Championship, I believe, a few weeks ago now, where FPX took down XSET 13-11 here, map 3 on Ascend. Now, on Ascent, sorry, is the name of the map. Now, this is this kind of turret thing. Like, Valorant's a bit of a weird game. Basically, there was this turret, and there's a bit of a bug with this turret where it will see someone, but if it doesn't fully see them, it will just shoot at a random direction type thing. I think they've now fixed this. But yeah, you can see this turret is meant to be spotting these people coming through this open doorway, but it shoots at them and then immediately shoots back at like the heaven, and therefore this player here, I think it's Def or whatever, he thinks, oh wow, there's a guy coming from like the heaven spot, so I'd better look there. Turns out there was nobody there because the turret was kind of bugged, and then FPX actually ended up winning this retake, winning the round, winning the game. Now this was considered, there was a real drama about this because a lot of people were saying like there's so many other bugs in the game that they don't really seem to care about, and it's not like that Valorant's like really good on the whole competitive integrity stuff just because of this one moment. But after they completed the retake here, they actually came out with a kind of post and they said, look, the final rounds, the Killjoy turret fired, that was a bug, so the final round will be replayed. This caused a lot of controversy actually, because a lot of teams were like, well, there were so many other bugs that happened in that game, but it just because it was the final rounds, that's why they made this call. So, you know, regardless of whether the VCT are doing it right, I think it's a fair point that the Call of Duty League doesn't really seem to do anything like this. There's always talking Call of Duty about, oh, well, you know, like someone lagged out of the game or there was something that crashed or froze and the team was up, you know, 160 to 110 with streaks on a good rotation, and they're like, no, we're just going to do a full replay, even though they could try, you know, in some way or another to help the game be a little bit fairer for the team that had the advantage before the replay. Stuff like that is always, you know, the CDL doesn't really do a great job of, and Scump's like, look, the CDL doesn't really seem to care too much about competitive integrity. And he also talked about the fact that back at, I think it was the World Championship up against Seattle, you guys remember the 1v2 that Pred got on Tuscan Control when kind of Scump and Dashy lined up. Scump reckoned that actually, if you look at that, he was shooting dead on Pred and should have like had him dead to rights, but yet the bloom on his weapon like effectively cost him the kill and potentially cost them their tournament lives. And that's not really something from a competitive integrity perspective, just because that's unfortunately how the game was built last year with Bloom in play. But, you know, I think it's situations like that where Scum would be like, well, look, if my gun did just bug and not shoot for some reason, it's not like they'd give me a replay, even if that was a massive bug. So probably something the CDL needs to think about dealing with, really. And even this I thought was interesting from Arcitys that I haven't talked about in a long time, but I got this saved up after the World Championship, and I thought it was a reasonable time, because Arcitys actually says after champs, shout out the CDL and all they do for us, but obviously more support for amateurs watching Preston was the hardest stuff. We also need better PCs and monitors. So like this is not just, I believe, for the Challengers players, but also for the pros. I think some of the pros talk about the fact that the kind of monitors they play on, and certainly the PCs, even on the professional setups, aren't particularly good. They use kind of bog standard PCs that can maybe get you 120, 140 FPS, but they're not really maxing out like the players can play on at home. So this is one of the things that the players want to play on the max settings, or not necessarily settings, but just max FPS to avoid any discrepancies and latency or whatever happens with weaker PCs. But I guess for cost reasons, the CDL's PCs that they give to the players and use on stage aren't exactly the highest spec ones. Makes sense not to give everyone a $3,000 PC, but you know, still it doesn't exactly help the competitive integrity from that perspective as well, if players aren't playing on the best stuff. But then again, I suppose they were all on the same stuff to some degree. And there was also talk that weekend about kind of soundproof booths, and kind of, well, Adam Apicella was going into some discussions on how they're not really so viable anymore like they used to be back in the day, and how they don't really even work to some degree. So there was talk about this, and from the competitive integrity point of view, saying that, well, really the CDL is doing an okay job. But I think Scump also makes a fair point that often when these kind of dramas happen, as we just saw there in Valorant, the CDL often would just be like, yeah, well, you know, the game said what it said, so we're just going to have to move on. And Scump isn't so happy about that from a competitive perspective. The other point, of course, is regard to streaming scrims. I shared that clip from Rambo where he said, well, yeah, look, the game comes out and within just a couple of weeks we'll be getting into scrims, because if the season starts early December, game comes out late October, they're going to have to do a good, you know, 3 weeks of scrimming before that tournament, and therefore after the kickoff tourneys of the first week or so, it's straight into practice. Now, in fairness, it's going to take them a couple of weeks, you would think at least 10 days probably, to come up with an idea of, okay, what maps, what weapons, like what is actually viable here. And hopefully we get some streaming action of this, right? Because last year it was pretty good. We got to see what Boston were doing an awful lot because Methods was streaming, and I imagine that might still be the case this season anyway. But OpTic probably are going to turn off their streams rather early. That's kind of unfortunate, because usually we get to see it for a little bit before the streams go off. But maybe the streams are going to go off very quickly indeed this year, and far earlier than usual. Even I think Los Angeles Thieves said last year, and Kenny was like, yeah, I'm really down to stream our practice this season, and then turned out that when push came to shove, like nothing was really actually being streamed at the end of the day. So that's, I suppose, one negative maybe of the season starting early. We get less kind of practice content, and you know, kind of see what the scrim results are between the pro teams, but I think we'll still get some of it in fairness. And well, of course, the season starting earlier generally is more of a positive regardless. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.